The American public knows that marijuana isn't harmful to them like alcohol or nicotine, which are legal, regulated, and taxed. The government itself has recognized and reported the truth almost painfully in the past about marijuana and its effects, such as the Schaefer Commission report in 1972 and the DEA Administrative Judge Francis Young's decision in 1988. Many medical studies and reports from all over the world for thousands of years have told us about the relative harmlessness and safety of using marijuana for medicine and recreation, religious purposes, whatever purpose. The American public has responded to numerous polls indicating that marijuana prohibition should end. The Zogby poll in March 22nd of 2007 found that over half of all Americans support decriminalization of marijuana. The Time CNN poll in 2002 found that 72% of Americans wanted decriminalization for possession and 75% favored medical marijuana. We have come to the point where it's totally illogical and counterproductive to continue to try to prohibit marijuana. 80% of the voters in the medical marijuana states wanted a change. 80% of the people all over the country believe we should change our policy and end the drug prohibition, especially on marijuana. You know, we know that prohibitions don't work. It's un-American. That's against our very spirit here in America, have prohibitions. You know, the UN did a study, a 10-year study from 1998 to 2008, and their goal was to eradicate drugs in 10 years all over the world. Well, guess what's happened? They had the report issued here not long ago, and after 10 years of coordinated efforts of the UN all over the world to eradicate drugs, what they found was that despite this 10-year plan, drugs are cheaper, they're better, stronger, and more available than ever before. That's all that happens. It doesn't work. The Emir of Egypt years ago had trouble with everybody eating hash all the time, so he started pulling teeth of everybody that was using hash. Well, we had a lot of people without teeth, but they still continued to use hash. I got a postcard from Mark Young, who's a gentleman from Indianapolis that got life in prison on his third federal drug felony on a phone call to an informant about marijuana. And he got life in prison. I didn't represent him, but he got life in prison. But he sent me a postcard later from Fort Leavenworth, Kansas, the same place Caldwell went to in '37. And it's a postcard. In the front is a picture of Fort Leavenworth Prison. On the back with these words, Mr. Dillon, I want you and NORML to know that it costs $1,500 an ounce to buy marijuana here in this maximum security federal prison. The prohibition doesn't work, ladies and gentlemen. The continuing disastrous violations of our fundamental rights is destroying our land and darkening our spirits. A quote regularly attributed to President Lincoln says that prohibition goes beyond the bounds of reason and that it attempts to control a man's appetite by legislation and makes a crime out of things that aren't crimes. A prohibition law strikes a blow at the very principles upon which our government was founded. You know, our first marijuana law in 1619 in Virginia said you had to grow pot, and if you didn't, you were violating the law. Our founding fathers, Washington and Jefferson, knew all about hemp and its benefits. And Jefferson reminds us that the freedom and happiness of man are the sole objects of all legitimate government. He also reminds us that eternal vigilance is the price of liberty. They risk their lives and their fortunes and their sacred honor to defend their liberty and their country, this new America. What will you do? You know, in conclusion, our government must be forced to change direction and end this disastrous marijuana prohibition. We must do something to force this change. We need to elect new leaders and to restore our freedom to choose for ourselves. Just like the alcohol prohibition, we must recognize that the prohibition has failed. And we must work to restore our liberty and freedom and end the costly damage to us and our constitutional rights. It's important to remember that the government needed to pass the 18th Amendment to the United States Constitution to try to regulate alcohol. It was the 18th Amendment. But so there's no constitutional amendment that I'm aware of allowing the federal government to regulate marijuana. Where did they get their power? The states have the right to continue to make laws regarding cannabis as long as they don't violate the fundamental liberties contained in the Bill of Rights. It's time for a change. You hear that a lot nowadays, don't you? It's time for a change. And yes, we can change things. It is time to take action to end the prohibition. We are the people. We are the majority. We have the truth on our side. And we have the courage to stand up for our rights. What are we waiting for? If we wait for someone else to fight for our freedom, we're going to lose it. As Simon Wiesenthal, a Holocaust survivor, said, freedom is not a gift from God. If you want freedom, you must work for it every day. I look forward to working with all of you in this battle that we are winning. And we will win soon. And we'll look back in the not-too-distant future and we'll be glad we spoke truth to power and acted to re-legalize marijuana. Thank you for attending and participating in our conference. I know you will enjoy this opportunity to rekindle the flames of liberty and justice in each of us and in our country. And let us go forth from this place, committed anew to the cause of liberty for all people, that next year we may celebrate in a world made better by our efforts. Thank you.